You see, if there's any one question the whole chess community, players, fans, and the world in general is crazy curious about, then it's this one. Could Bobby Fischer, placed in the same era with same resources, tools, databases, and loads of engines for analysis, beat peak Magnus Carlsen? Well, today, I'm going to give you answer to that question by showing you a preview of this fantasy if it ever got to happen. What you're about to see is a constructed game, a simulation built move by move and checked at every step with an engine, using the openings these two men actually played and the positions they actually chose. Every move in it is legal, sound, and defensible. Here's the scenario I built it under. This is not 1972 Fischer dropped into a modern tournament hall with a cardboard box of opening notes. This is Fischer with everything a player has today. The same engines, the same databases, the same preparation team, but with his style completely unchanged. Still the E4 guy, still the sharpest line on the board, against peak Carlsen, the 2882 classical FIDE rated version, also unchanged. The Berlin, the Najdorf, the king of endgames. These are our players, and the result will definitely leave you shocked. Fischer has white. Let's go. Pawn to E4, and Carlsen answers C5, the Sicilian, and that's already interesting because Carlsen playing the Najdorf against Fischer means he's willing to fight on Fischer's home ground. Knight F3, D6, D4, takes, knight F6, knight C3, A6, the Najdorf. And Fischer plays bishop G5. This is the most violent reply to the Najdorf ever invented, and it was Fischer's own weapon. E6 from Carlsen, and now F4, pawns and pieces both aimed at the black king before either side is castled. Carlsen plays queen B6, the poisoned pawn. And I want to stop here for a second, because this is the whole video in one move. The poisoned pawn variation is the sharpest, most heavily analyzed line in the entire Sicilian, and Bobby Fischer played it as black his whole life. Carlsen is picking up Fischer's own gun and pointing it at him. He is saying, I've prepared this too, and my computer is the same as your computer. Queen D2 from Fischer. The pawn on B2 is now hanging, and it is hanging on purpose. Fischer has left it there because he wants it taken, and Carlsen takes it anyway. Queen takes B2. Now, why would he do that? He knows it's bait. Fischer knows he knows. So let's talk about what the alternatives actually were, because Carlsen had 4 perfectly reasonable ways to decline, and he turned all of them down for the same reason. He could have played knight B to D7, developing quietly. Solid move. Fischer castles long, the queens come off the B6 square, and white just has a comfortable, pleasant position with a space advantage and the safer king. Carlsen is fine, but he's fine in the way you're fine when someone else is driving. He could have played knight C6, hitting the knight on D4 first, also completely sound. Fischer retreats to B3, castles long, pushes H4, and starts the same attack a tempo slower. He could have played bishop E7, which looks like the most natural developing move on the board. That one is actually the worst of the 4. Fischer immediately plays E5, and after the knight goes to D5 and the pieces come off, white has the better structure, and black has a king that can never castle. Or he could have played H6, kicking the bishop. Fischer just takes on F6, wrecks the pawns straight away, and gets the same attacking position without having to invest anything. Here's what all 4 have in common. In every single one, white is comfortably better and black is defending for the next 40 moves. Against a normal opponent, Carlsen would take that. Defending slightly worse positions for 40 moves is what he does better than anyone alive. But this is Fischer. And Fischer with a small, permanent, risk-free edge and a whole afternoon is the single most dangerous thing in the history of the game. Give Bobby Fischer a comfortable position in no way to lose, and he will grind you into the floor for 6 hours without ever giving you a chance. So Carlsen makes the decision the engine agrees with. Taking is objectively his best move here, and it's also the decision his own instincts push him toward. Don't give Fischer a free ride. Take the pawn, accept the storm, and make him prove it. If he wants to attack, make him spend real material to do it. Rook B1,
queen a3. The queen escapes down the diagonal, and now she's sitting completely offside on a3 while Fischer builds. That's the deal the poisoned pawn makes. Black gets a pawn and a queen in exile. White gets the entire initiative and a free hand. Quick one. If you are tired of memorizing chess lines you forget a week later, just like Bobby Fischer, and you want to play chess just like Bobby Fischer, then our new book has got you covered. You won't just learn Fischer's psychology, you will begin to look at your own board the way he saw his in your very next game. If you'd like to check it out, link will be in the description.
Fischer plays f5 immediately. Knight c6, f takes e6, f takes e6, knight takes c6, b takes, and now e5. Watch what this does. Pawn takes e5, bishop takes f6, pawn takes. Carlsen's kingside pawns are now shattered, doubled, and hanging on f6 and e5, and his king is still in the center. Knight e4, and Fischer's knight lands on the best square on the board, eyeing f6 and c5 and d6 all at once. Queen takes a2, and Carlsen grabs a second pawn. 2 pawns up, terrible structure, king in the middle. This is exactly the trade the line is famous for. Rook d1, bishop e7, bishop e2, and now Carlsen finally castles. Fischer castles too, and Carlsen plays rook a7, a strange-looking move that's actually a defensive idea, lifting the rook to the second rank to cover the king along the 7th. And here, Fischer plays queen h6. The queen walks all the way to h6, right next to the enemy king in a position where he's 2 pawns down. Rook d7 is forced, and I mean forced. The alternative, queen a4, loses on the spot by nearly 3 pawns. Fischer plays rook f3, swinging the rook toward g3. Now Carlsen takes, rook takes d1, check. Also the only move. Rook f7 instead is losing by 2 pawns, and moving the king to f7 loses by 5. He has to trade a pair of rooks, even though it helps White's attack, because everything else loses faster. Bishop takes d1, recapturing with the bishop, keeping the rook on f3 for the attack, and Carlsen plays rook f7, which again is the only move. Bishop c5 check loses by nearly 6. Queen a3 loses by more than 6. At this point, Magnus has found the single surviving move 3 times in a row. Rook g3 check, king h8, and this is the one I want you to really look at, because this is where it gets frightening. Carlsen can block the check with rook g7. It looks completely natural. You interpose, you defend, you're a rook and 2 pawns up. But no, you cannot, because it's checkmate. Forced, immediate, unavoidable checkmate. The rook on g7 gets taken, and the king has nowhere. So to avoid this, the king goes to h8 into the corner, unprotected, because it's the only square that survives. Fischer plays queen h5, also his only move, h3 or h4 instead, and the whole attack collapses, and he's the one losing. And now, Carlsen plays queen d5. Look at that queen. It has been sitting on a2 doing nothing for 8 moves, and it comes flying back across the board to defend, hitting the knight on e4 and covering the light squares around his king. 2 pawns up, 1 move from mate, and the queen arrives at the exact moment it's needed. Fischer takes the rook. Queen takes f7. It's clear Fischer is winning material back and threatening mate. But Magnus Carlsen has one resource left, and it's the only thing keeping him alive, his own checks. Queen d1 check, king f2, the only legal square that doesn't lose, queen takes c2 check, eating another pawn on the way through. King f3, queen d1 check, king e3, queen d4 check, king f3, queen d1 check, king f2, queen c2 check, king e3. And now Carlsen plays bishop c5 check. He gives away the bishop, and here is the sharpest moment in the whole game. Fischer must take it with the knight. If he steps aside with king f3 instead, the natural human instinct, keep your extra piece, he is checkmated. Not worse, mated. So knight takes c5, queen c1 check, king d3, queen d1 check, king e3, queen c1 check.
And that's a draw by perpetual check. Carlsen has no pieces left except a queen. He's given up 2 rooks and a bishop, and he cannot be caught. That's the honest answer to who wins. And it's why I don't think anyone can give you a cleaner one. Fischer has the highest ceiling in chess history. Carlsen has the highest floor. Fischer builds positions where you have to be perfect for 15 straight moves or you die, and Carlsen is the one man who is perfect for 15 straight moves. Highest ceiling against highest floor, and you get exactly what you just watched. A draw where both men were half a move from ruin. But here's the part that should bother the Fischer fans, and I say this as one of them. Everything you just watched was Fischer's dream scenario. His opening, his weapon, his kind of chaos, played flawlessly, and it was worth only half a point. Carlsen never has to give him that game. He can just play something dry, trade the queens and grind for 6 hours in a position with no tactics in it at all. And in that game, I think Fischer loses. So the real answer isn't who's better, it's who gets to choose the battlefield. So, tell me in the comments, who was closer to winning that, and would Carlsen actually go into the poison pawn, or would he refuse to give Fischer the fight he wants? Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you got value, and if you want more of these simulations, tell me which 2 players and I'll build it. See you in the next one.